Hey, we are back here at the live stream of the Wesleyan General Conference 2016. I'm joined now by the authors of this book, Paradox, Jeremy Summers and Matt LeRoy. Guys, this is not the first book you have written together. You've got Awakening Grace and some others. Jeremy, tell me a little bit about how the idea for this book came about.
Yeah, well, a lot of the books that we put together usually come late at night in conversations. Kind of birth there. This one came about actually just discussing tensions in faith that a lot of people that we minister to alongside are dealing with, and how do you talk about those tensions? So that's how it was birthed originally. One
of the things that I found that I really love, one of the quotes, it says, "God is not afraid of your questions. In fact, He invites them. He is big enough to handle them and wise enough to navigate you through the paradoxes you inevitably uncover." So one thing I try to tell my church, Matt, is as a youth pastor, I often told kids, don't question God. And as I've gotten older, I've realized how dumb that was. So how does this book help people question God in the right way that leads to growth?
Yeah, so I think we try to intentionally embrace in a very open kind of way and acknowledge the doubt that people wrestle with every single day. And the fact that doubt can actually be an invitation into faith, and in a really strange way, asking God questions, throwing questions at Him, and being honest about those questions is actually a declaration of faith, because by doing that, you're saying, I trust that you are big enough to handle this, and I trust that you actually have an answer for this. And so I'm going to wade into that mystery with you and ask you to navigate me through it. So I think doubt is actually really tightly connected to faith.
So the way the book's set up, there's 10 chapters, and again, you're talking about those tensions. So it's grace and truth, changing culture, work and worship, hope and suffering, repentance and revival, things like that. How did addressing these things in the book help you in your own lives to wrestle with some of these tensions?
Yeah, I think that going through the content, you're really pulling from the heart in conversations you're having with real people, even within our own families and within our own lives. I mean, just looking at the dialogue that we would have about when you talk about worship, for instance, like, how do you worship with, what's the tensions within that, deal with cultural issues. So a lot of it dealt more with dialogue within our own lives and having that come out, but then also looking at the faith tradition and how did early church fathers and other saints of the church, when you look back, we're wrestling with the same questions, the same tensions.
Right. Yeah. Right. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I think for me, the two biggest chapters were hope and suffering and faith and reason. And so I see that a lot as, I'm a pastor of a church plant, and about half of our congregation is made up of college students, and from a major university where they're incredibly sharp students. Yeah. And they're wrestling with this tension every single day. And so one of the things that we faced over and over again, we have people in our congregation, a young lady who, 6 months after getting married, her dad tragically passes away. My own wife lost her mother 6 years ago. And so walking through that difficulty and the hurt of that and the suffering of that, and coming face to face with the reality that a lot of what we're fed is shallow faith, and sometimes suffering actually draws us deeper into a more robust hope, and understanding that hope actually meets us in the middle of that suffering. And so Christianity has always had an answer for suffering. You know? The cross itself is a picture of God entering into our suffering and taking that head on and full on. Yeah.
Jeremy, you're the director of spiritual formation for the denomination. So when you're putting together a resource like this, what's your hope for it as it gets to the local church? I know with Awakening Grace, there's small group resources, videos. Are there resources coming out like that for Paradox? What's your goal in because it's not just about, all right, we're going to write a book,
Right.
but what's your goal for how this can help a local church? And then, Matt, how do you see you yourself using this in your church?
Yeah. I think when Matt and I write anything, the idea is for the local church.
Yeah.
And not just for the individual, but for the community.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with a book like this is something that can't be consumed just individually. It has to be shared within a community, small group, whatever you have, accountability groups, things like that. So for me personally, from a denominational level, my hope is that this is something that people embrace, that might start conversations, as Matt talked about with hope. It gives people hope to understand that the questions that we have are normal and actually almost an invitation to begin to dialogue within these tensions, but it's not something that we do alone.
Yeah.
And so you might read it alone, but you need to provide space to share it with others, because within that space, I think you find Christ and the Spirit working.
Yeah. Awesome. What about in your church, Matt?
Yeah, so one of the things about that, I think that's one of the great things about our partnership, is that Jeremy is engaged with all of these local churches from across the denomination, right? And so getting to have all of these conversations and seeing the trends about what people are wrestling with. And then I'm in a local context, deeply rooted in that local context, where a lot of that is able to grow up from a grassroots thing. So it's a great combination of saying, here's what is a real conversation happening in the local context, and here's what's being echoed across the denomination. And so, So for me, how I would use this, a lot of our young adults and college students and older adults too, who are wrestling through how do we navigate our way through this culture that seems to be rapidly changing. How do we have a faith that is so full and deep that we're able to embrace the mystery of it. One of the things that we say is that it's like the strings on a guitar. That's one of the illustrations that we use, right? And so there's tension in the strings of a guitar. And I think our natural impulse in the church is to try to relieve the tension, resolve the tension, right? But in the strings of a guitar, it's actually the tension that creates the music.
Yeah.
And so you can resolve the tension there, but you also lose the music and you lose the song. And so that's one of the things we say is that in the mystery, that's where the music is. And so embrace the tension and wade into it.
Cool. Well, the book is Paradox. You can get it from WPHstore.com. Also, WPHresources.com as small group guides and videos are released. You can get those there. Guys, where can people go to connect with you online? I'm going to get you. We got a copy of the book. They don't know this yet. We got a copy of the book we want you to sign, and we're going to do a giveaway. We've been talking about giveaways on the live stream. So a little bit later on tonight, we're going to tell you how you can sign up for this giveaway to win a copy of a signed copy, which increases the value. But where can people go to connect with you guys online?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Summers, or also check out the website. You and I also do a podcast at missionaldiscipleship.com.
Yep. What about you, Matt?
At Matt LeRoy, Instagram, at Matt LeRoy, Twitter, not on Facebook. Don't even try there. And then soon y'all might invite me to be on the podcast, which you haven't.
Have you not been on our podcast?
No. What's up with that? Come on.
Can we talk to you about Paradox?
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Hey, if you're watching the live stream right now, stay tuned. In just a few minutes, we'll be coming back with a special interview with the director of World Hope International, John Lyon. So don't go anywhere. We'll be coming back for that in a few minutes. And then we got a major business session to hear tonight, live from the Wesleyan General Conference in Buffalo, New York. Thanks to Jeremy and Matt. This is Heath Mulliken, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay.